I'm gonna make a recording. So I've been doing a lot of little things randomly, um, without necessarily making videos. What I did now is I noticed that using the hex coordinates, so these are the axial coordinates, the white ones. That's what I was using since the beginning. But the axial coordinates kind of made it a little bit difficult because I had to deal a lot with offsets. So every second row would be offset. And when it came to trying to, like, let's say I select this hex grid here, this hex tile here, and I want to go out in each direction evenly, like say 3 squares, so it makes a bigger hex for maybe a range or something. I had to start calculating, well, okay, is the first hex from where we're starting to calculate this odd or even? Is it the offset row or is it the even row? And then depending on what that is, I have to increment each time, but only when I'm going up and down in this direction, not in this direction. And it would affect everything. It would affect, just moving the cursor around on the map, highlighting the correct hex. It would affect if I was doing pathfinding, if there was a line going up through somewhere, which ones do I need to highlight, which ones do I need to actually pathfind through correctly. And it was really getting in the way, and it was going to make the project a lot more complicated. So for that reason, I refactored the whole darn thing. I might need to still refactor something else, but because the lists themselves of how these tiles, like the dictionaries, are still using the axial coordinates as their key value, and not the hex coordinates. Ideally, the hex coordinates would be their key value. I think I'm going to run into a point where I'm going to realize it's going to be better for me to do it that way. So I might have to go back and change that. But for now, what I did was I've made it so that the hex coordinates now work. In that each tile will have they already had their coordinates there before, but I wasn't updating it. I wasn't really using it. Now I'm using it. I'm updating it correctly. So if I click on this one here, these are the axial coordinates, the point, and then the coordinates themselves here. And what makes it easier is that if I want to go in one specific direction with it, it kind of gives me, having 3 values instead of 2, kind of gives me a little bit more control. So I think that's going to help a lot. And I've also reorganized the way these are placed. See, going up in this direction now is negative, and going in this direction is negative, but positive for the other value. So it's kind of a little all over the place. But the only reason why it's doing that, and it's the same thing with the actual hex coordinates, the red, green, and blue ones. See, going up is -1 here, -2 here, -3 going up is minus, but going down is positive. And the reason for that is because this document here, which is the main document that everybody uses for hex coordinates, is built that way. So I didn't want to, I actually had to do something a little different just to make it match this. It probably would have been easier for me not to make it match this, but I wanted it to match this because this is going to be sort of my reference on how these things work. And I could build off that if I want to do 3D space or hexes on top of hexes, like bridges and stuff like that. So I wanted to keep it like this because part of the main reason when I was originally trying to do like a distance things, if I go down here somewhere, neighbors, right? Just neighbors in the cube coordinates. That's what they're called, cube coordinates, the hex coordinates. So cube coordinates, I have much more control over which one I want to go see and here's the general function for it. But I could just pick, you know, they're going to have one too, axial coordinates here. And that's what I was using, and it was working really well. But it's the same thing. And ultimately, when I want to get into more complex stuff, see here, it's giving you the choice between even and odd. You have to start choosing between them. You know, here you won't have to do that, so much more simple. And when you start getting into more complex stuff, it'll be a lot easier to do. So that way I could really just choose how far out I want to go in cube coordinates. It'll be easier than, I don't even know if there is one here with, oh yeah, offset coordinates here, you see? But then is it A or B? I think here is checking if it's off. But anyways, it's a real pain in the butt. And I think everything else, all these other examples on this are using cube coordinates or hex coordinates. So it should be a lot easier to start implementing some of this functionality. Yeah. So that's what's going on there. Yeah, I wanted to make a quick video because it's been a while. Part of the sort of side effect of it being kind of like unfiltered, see the offset going up and down, you know, you have to choose whether it was even or odd, made it so that this thing here was more of a square or rectangle or whatever. The kind of like not having it that way, not using it where you have to calculate the offsets if it's, you know, odd or even row, is that you ultimately end up having this sort of slanted, I forget what it's called, a trapezoid or something, a slanted rectangle or square. But that's okay, because the maps don't have to be that way. The actual coordinates will be there, but they don't have to be used. Like I could just do something like this, right? The values here don't matter what they are, right? Even if like the edge isn't 0, 0, it could be whatever, it doesn't matter. The functionality of moving left by 1 or 2 or 4 is the same no matter what those values are. So, cancel that, start it over. So yeah, so even if it is like a really weird shape, a shape that you wouldn't necessarily want as part of your game world, it's a bit odd, you know, doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And frame rate wise, like these won't even be individual hexes. So 1, there won't be any hexes here, and 2, for the parts that do exist, there will not be individual hex meshes. It's just too brutal on the frame rates. So I'll find another way to do it. So yeah, that's what the update is basically. Now what I needed to do was, oh yeah, I'll show you. I'll start another video if I start playing with this right now. So upper right corner here is my gameplay window. So you can see, I'll just, ooh, it's slow. But I gotta give that a little bit more value. Oh, that's funny, I can't speed it up. No. Anyways, so the issue I'm having here is, so yeah, so I can go and select, and it'll select where the character could go. 1, my going down, I'm actually pushing up, so my values have been in reverse since the last time I implemented sort of moving up and down on my selector. Another thing too is you can see this path is broken. There's dotted. It's a dotted path, not a full path. So something in the logic there is breaking. I'll bring him to a little bit more closer to the middle here. So now he's in the middle. Now what happens? Check it out when what happens, and I select his movement range. It won't be a nice even circle or hex. It's going to be this really weird skewed thing, and it's almost like it's skewed the same way this hex is skewed, and that's because the selecting the selection function, or I say, hey, here's a hex, select, you know, 10 in any direction and give me back all those hexes, is calculating still the offset, and it shouldn't be doing that anymore. So I got to go back in there and kind of like tell it not to calculate the offset. And I believe that the path too, the blue path, was doing the same thing. So I got to go and remove the offset calculation. Actually, it's probably pretty simple. I could probably do it right now. Let me go see. Yeah, so when I'm selecting, let me find out where that would be. When I'm selecting it, I would be in the battle controller, right? Whoops. And I'm just going to do a search for select. Okay. Am I in the battle controller? Yes. Select unit state. On enter. Which one is this? Battle controller. Move cursor. So I'm going to move the cursor here until I get onto convert input coordinates. Yeah, this is when I'm moving the thing around, and that's based off the camera direction when I'm pushing up and down. That will need to be changed because when I push up, I'm going down right now. Select unit. So when I select the unit, select move target state. So it's either here or in the other state down here where I'm highlighting all those. Oh, here, highlight tile. On mouse tile hover. No. Select unit. Owner, selected unit. State machine, change state. Let me go and look in here. Get tiles in movement range. This is it here. And there's going to be a highlight somewhere. Movement tiles show here. So either I'm getting them. It's probably this one. I'm probably getting them wrong. And then I'm moving. Let's go see in the move and get here. So I put in a unit to get it. So I send in the unit. I'm going to return a list of tiles, and I'm doing a search from the unit, and I'm expanding that search. I'm doing some sort of filter on that search, and then I'm returning it. So we're doing a search from the unit. What is expand search? What is that? I don't know. Let's just go into the unit here. Oh, it's just a function, the expand search that I put into here. Okay. Okay, let's see what it's doing. So we're doing a search. Maybe I would do this in another video. Let's do it in a while. Look, okay, yeah. So I'm sending a unit. Do I use the unit? I do, and I grab that unit's tile, which is correct. I clear the search, I guess just to reset everything. I make a new list, which is the return value. Then a queue, check next, check now. And then unit tile distance equals 0, check now and queue the tile of the unit. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying I'm only creating a list and I'm only starting from the unit tile. But from that tile, I'm going to check in every direction and see if there's a valid place for him to move. And if yes, I add that spot to the queue to check. And I also add that spot as a possible position. So then check now, tile T. While check now dot count is smaller than 0, correct. It needs to check for it's got to be 6. Check now dot count. I don't know. While check now dot count. Oh, is bigger than 0, right? So I'm just going to constantly be adding in there. So okay. Tile T, check now, DQ. So I DQ 1 and I put it into T. Then what we're going to do is we're going to look in every single 6 directions. Here we go. Tile next. Creating a new tile. If tile dot point dot zn1 equals 0, 0, if even. Ugh. It's a check to see if it's even, you see. Then if it's an even row, then we do this kind of check. And if not, we do an odd check. We do this kind of check. So we don't have to do this double check here. Really gross. So what we're going to do is, what does a normal check even look like? Oh, you see, we look at the different directions. And it's going to be based on t dot point plus. Right. We're looking at the point t dot point dot z. Because what's going to happen is that tile refers to a specific tile that's going to be in a dictionary using that point as its key pair. So if we start looking using the points, the problem is I'd rather be using the hex grids. Just check it out. Hold on, I'm going to turn off that cardinal direction thing. So I'm using the white numbers right now. But it still could work. I just need to change. You know, it still could work. Because it really is, all it is the difference here. See, the math behind it is 1 and minus 1. That's the point value. Well, 1 is equal to this. Minus 1 is equal to this. And this is equal to this plus this equals this. Always that. See, 2 is 2. Minus 1 is minus 1. 2 minus minus 1. Or whatever. No, 2 plus minus 1 is minus 1. So it's always that. So it still works. But I want to be able to say, at one point I want to be able to search the dictionary using coordinates. Hex coordinates. So I might have to do a converter where I say, here's a hex coordinate, bring me back this tile. And when I do grab, like the function grab tile using hex coordinate, it will go into the correct dictionary, and it will search using the point system, the double number one, the white one. But when I do the search with the hex one, before it does that, looks at using the point, it'll convert the hex into. But then again, like, how do you can't, because this plus this equals this. But how do you know? I'm not sure. We'll see if I run into something at some point. So no more checking if it's odd or even. It's going to get the directions, just the directions now. So T point, let's just find these directions here. See here, directions even, odd. So I'm just going to do a new one. I'll keep that one around in case, but I'm going to do just one called directions. And it's probably, I'll check using the new, let me get, I'll put it here, here, we'll go to 0, 0. Ugh, I can't find it now. Hold on, let me zoom out. Okay, somewhere around here. Here it is. Okay. Okay, so I was already on one of them. So we'll do one that's going to be called 1 minus 1. That's going to be northeast. Then east is going to be 1, 0, which is already fine. Then southeast is going to be 0 and 1. 0 and 1, and you can see they're very different than the way they were before. And this one here is southwest, which is going to be minus 1 and 1. Minus 1 and 1. This one here is minus 1 and 0. That's fine. But this one here is 0, minus 1. Like this. And this should already be pretty good. And then what I'm going to do is, where was I just moments ago? Here. So I'm not even going to check if it's odd or even. I'm just going to do directly tile.next. Right? Let me just make sure. I want to see those notes, make sure I'm not mathing. Okay. Well, I'll keep the thing that says mathing, which is a bit silly, but yeah, mathing, I'm talking about the point itself plus the direction. It's not that complicated. And then we'll just do that directly. We're not going to do directions even, we're just going to do directions. Did I not have an S at directions? I did not. I'll put an S on that and makes it a little bit more like it should be. Now where was I? Oh, here it is. There we go, give that a save. Okay, now let's see what else it's doing. Within the inner for loop, we will try to verify what we actually got a little reference. Remember that we are on a non-square board, which could have holes. Right. I am going to have holes, and they're not going to be handled the way that it's currently handled, though. And if so, we will compare the distance with each. What? If next equals null, or next dot distance is smaller or equal to t tile dot distance plus 1 continue. So this is probably just making sure that it's within the range of the unit. But where does distance come from? Okay. Unit tile plus 1. That's kind of a little weird to me here. Next dot distance. Because it's the unit has a distance. That's should be where I'm checking for the, but I don't feel like I'm grabbing it from the unit anywhere. Unit, it says unit here distance, but I'm grabbing the distance in the tile, not the unit. Oh, unit, no, unit tile, no. Weird. But, you know, I kind of feel like that I might have already fixed it. Just checking the rest of it here. If we add the tile, the whole loopy system, the return value is good. Let me go see now, back in the, where were we? In the battle controller somewhere, battle controller. What we do here is we do a show. So we return the tiles in movement range. And let's just see what the show is doing. Yeah, it just swaps it. Okay, let's see if it works now. So remember we had a skewed one. I need to stop it and restart it. Okay. There we go, it works now. Now my selection is still a little weird. It's backwards, but even that even fixed the selection. Huh, cool. I'll go back down here. See, it's a hexagon distance now. See, nice hexagon. My down is going up and my up is going down. My left and right works well, but that's backwards. Cool. I could actually commit that. That's a nice little fix. I just have to do a little bit of that there, like getting everything up to where it should be. And then I could start expanding on the functionality of what's going on. I'm going to reduce the range of this, though. It's a little much. I was doing a test before to have it that far. And I'm also going to not put the characters up in this corner. I'm going to see if I could either randomly put them generally in the middle of the map or just have them on 0, 0 in the center. Just, you know, for my testing. Have it a little bit easier. Yeah. Cool. I'll save that.